All right. Well, since Chris recorded kind of a stream of consciousness, I'll do the same. Man, it's been weird to be an American lately. I don't know how to explain perfectly what's going on in my country. And you know, it's like people don't see the shit that's going on around them. They think it's all just a big, you know, they don't understand how authoritarian our government has become, which is a fucking shame. It's almost like, sorry, I'm cleaning stuff off my desk. It's almost like people are just kind of like, some people are just kind of okay with citizens being beat to the ground because, hey, they disagree with me, so fuck them. But I'm not gonna be doom and gloom here. I'm gonna be honest. But I'm not gonna say that it's all bad, because it's not all bad. I mean, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening in the streets right now, and specifically Portland. The government sends armed regiments in, and then the protesting group grows by thousands. It's becoming a weird sense of like people are finally starting to see the shit that's going down, and they're starting to, instead of being apathetic, which, to be fair, I've been guilty of myself more than a few times, they're finally starting to go, holy shit, no, the government does have too much overreaching power. And if it's in the wrong person's hands, which it is right now, then it becomes a much bigger problem. I mean, we're like 4 months away from an election here, at the time of recording anyways, and we have psychopaths running our government. At the very least, sociopaths. And then you have people that are just kind of like, well, I don't care, it's fine. Hey, they shouldn't be protesting anyways. They just do what they're told, they wouldn't get hurt. Well, yeah, you're right. If we just did what we're told, we wouldn't get hurt. But it's like, people forget that our nation was built on people not doing what they're told. Like, the founding fathers right now would be on the side of the protesters, not on the side of the government. Because they fervently believed that rebellion is something you should do if you disagree with what your government's doing. And it sickens me to hear these people that are, you know, patriotic, though honestly that seems more like a dog whistle than anything, claim to be on the side of just and rightness. You know, for instance, the Second Amendment activists, the Second Amendment worshippers. By the way, people usually know two amendments, which shows when they talk about the Constitution. They claim that the reason why they have a stockpile of guns is for when a tyrannical government steps up. Well, I have to tell you something, guys. It's here. And what are you doing? What are the majority of y'all doing? You're sitting there going, well, at least it's them, right? And it frustrates the hell out of me, because like they just don't understand that a government that is oppressing its citizenry is an authoritarian government, is a tyrannical government, and they're just sitting on the sidelines. Why? Because it's not them that's being oppressed. It's not the people that want to talk about how they're the people that support this that support the Second Amendment and then support everything that the Second Amendment is built there for, they don't do both of the actions. And I'm not condoning violence. I understand the violence, but I'm not condoning it. But I do think that people are greatly overestimating how this country is slowly, not even slowly, very acceleratedly, very accelerated fall into fascism, into authoritarianism. And I know Chris probably said this too, but I kind of want to make it abundantly clear. Our president is a fascist. He's got 11 of the 14 steps done already. And now he's working on the 12th. And people are just kind of okay with it. They don't care. They don't see the problem with it. And it irritates me. But the thing is that that's a very vocal minority. And I know a lot of you may say, well, it's not a vocal minority. Yeah, it is. It's just like the Trump crowd before. This is what they do. They raise hell and then they make the loudest noises, and then people get discouraged because, well, obviously, these are the people that are going to be in charge. No, that's the thing. A lot of people are still sitting on the sidelines, and I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. It's time for you, if you think this, if you believe this, if you see what's going on in our country, it's time for you to tell your friends and your family members, hey, do you not see what's going on? Why are you still sitting on the sidelines? Why have you not decided yet? And you may not like their answers. Their answers may not be the best options, but the confrontation usually does help. Hell, that's the reason why Chris has went the way he has, because I confronted him about it. I was talking about it was literally, I can't remember the day, but it was the day that we sent people up to the International Space Station, and he was so excited, and I was like, dude, there's shit going on here that we need to talk about. There's shit going on here that we need to address. People are getting murdered by the police and nothing's happening. And I think it finally got through to him. I don't know. I'm not in Chris's head, but I think Chris finally saw what I was talking about, which is like, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I love space. I love the fact that we're going out there and doing things, but you got to understand, sometimes that shit's just a distraction from what's going on in the real world. And it just, I'll be completely honest with you. It's a weird situation. It's a weird setup to what's going on in the world. And I know I'm rambling right now, but fuck it. This is a stream of consciousness, so I'm just going to talk about it. This country has went from from rebelling against a tyrannical king who was batshit insane. Literally, look it up. Look up King George III. Boy, that's a fucking story. Like, America wouldn't exist if Britain had a competent king. And if Britain had a competent king, maybe America would have never existed in the first place. Something to think about. But we now have another King George III. The problem is he's our president now, and we have to decide what we want to do with it. And there are some people that are okay with it. Why? Because they're not the ones being oppressed yet. The keyword is yet. And it's just, and don't think that just because you have the conversation or because you have the conversation with your family or your friends that they're going to change their mind. In my personal experience, it's maybe been about half that maybe have changed their minds or at least listened. And it's dumb. It's dumb to think that you're going to change everyone's mind. And don't become obsessed with trying to change everyone's mind. Change the ones you think you can. And you'll be surprised sometimes the ones that you don't think you'll ever change their mind, they're the ones that will turn around the quickest. Because maybe no one's had that conversation with them. Maybe the only people they've had conversations with are the ones that agree with them. Because as much as the right likes to complain that the left is in an echo chamber, so is the right. Like, more intensely than we are. And I'm saying this because I was once on that right side of the equation. I was a full bore libertarian who thought that the government shouldn't help people out because if you're too weak to stand for yourself, then you don't deserve help. And I believed that because, well, I'd never had to stand up for myself. Now I have, and I understand why people need help, why people need a lending hand. I mean, shit, you could see it right now if you look. And it kills me. It kills me to think that someone on my street, and I don't live in a bad neighborhood, I live in an alright neighborhood. Someone on my street might not be able to afford very basic health care or a $400 emergency. You may have heard that term thrown around a lot, but some of you may not understand what that is. What that basically means is that there's a huge swath of Americans, I think it's like almost 50%, if not more, that can't afford if something happened to them that cost over $400, they couldn't do it. Whether it be a car or vehicle, medical, financial issue, they can't afford it. So that's kind of the reason why I went so far left. I don't think that people understand that there's a difference between communism and socialism. There's a big difference. Communism stops once the government's been overthrown and the leader has been chosen. That's the point of communism, is that you stop when you get your leader. Socialism isn't about that. Socialism doesn't have a leader. That's the point of it. I mean, I'm not necessarily a full-on socialist. I'm more of an anarchist than anything. But the funny thing is that if you claim to be an anarchist, you're kind of a socialist because you think that communal living is the way to go and that being able to live without a government oversight is how government should work. Personally, I believe that a government that doesn't represent its people doesn't need to be in power. Why? Because when you have people that are in the government that are making decisions based on their pocketbook or their power, they're not making decisions based on the people that they're supposed to represent. That's the reason why you have these senators that have been in power for 20 plus years, is because they don't make the decisions for the people. They make the decisions for the corporations and for themselves. But I know I'm rambling like hell right now, but I think that the world is getting better, or at least has the potential to get better in the future. Right now sucks. I think everyone can agree with that, no matter what your political position is. 2020, the first 7 months sucked. And it's rough to think that it can get better, but it can, because here's the thing. People are starting to realize that they need to give a shit about politics. Or at least give a shit about themselves enough to vote. Because let's be honest here, that last election, we all sat on our asses and hoped for the best. Well, now you don't have the ability to sit on the sidelines. Game's being played, and we need everybody we can. So, it's weird. The reason why I say that people's minds are changing is because of Chris and because of other people that I've talked to, where they gotta understand that. Because here's the thing that blows my fucking mind. People will bitch up and down, left and right about fucking mandatory mask mandates in states and cities, but they won't say a fucking word about literal unmarked federal agents walking into cities and busting heads. Why? Because that doesn't affect them. They're a good little American. They work their 9 to 5, pay their taxes, and don't question their own government or question the shit they see in front of their own eyes. Well, I hate to break it to people, but one of these days that shit's gonna be taken away from you as well if you keep letting this happen. Why? Because you need to be the ultra American. I mean, I know the Hitler example for our current president gets used a lot. And it does fit, but you also have to understand that Hitler had 10 years to do this. Trump's done stuff in the past 3 years that has motivated a lot of people who were apathetic in the last election to get politically active. And if you're not one of those people, don't think that you're less. Don't think that you're not a good person or that you're not a good American or that you're stupid or whatnot. That's fine. I understand. I was in the same boat you were. Politics are stupid. They are. But they're important, and that's why you got to care. Because if you don't care, people will push shit under your nose that you won't have any clue about. They'll just happen, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? Came from you not giving a shit. Country's wilding out right now, and it's terrifying to think about. But through great strife usually is born great peace. Right now, our country is very divided. But the thing is that the divide's not 50-50. And you have to understand that those minds can change. Just because your parents are Trump supporting people doesn't mean you can't go to them and say, hey man, I understand that you think that Trump is the end all be all president. But if Obama or any other president did this same shit, would you be mad or would you be okay with it? And if they're being honest, they'll say that they'd be mad about it. Now, if they're not being honest, then there's a good chance you're probably never going to change your mind. But if they're honest and they say something like, yeah, no, if Obama did this, I'd be pissed. You go, okay, what's the difference? And you may not get an answer, or you may get oh, that's not the important bit kind of bullshit. And that's fine. But the thing is, you implanted that seed in their head. Changing minds isn't easy. You can't force someone to change their mind. You can only present the opposing argument. There was a great debate. It was Stephen Fry, Christopher Hitchens versus two people talking about Christianity. It was, is God inherently good? I think you can look it up on YouTube. It's wonderful. Even if you're not an atheist, or even if you do believe in God, I sincerely suggest you watch it. At the beginning, they polled the audience, and it was pretty much a 50-50 split. People that believed God was inherently good, and people that didn't believe God was inherently good. By the end of the debate, it was almost a 90-10 split for God not being good. Why? Because the arguments that were presented by Christopher Hitchens and Stephen Fry were good enough to make people question some things. And I feel like a lot of people need to have that in the back of their head. Now, I could debate all day about whether God exists or whether he's good or not. I don't want to have that debate. I'm not going to change anyone's mind when it comes to that. At least I don't think so, but I can at least make you think. And that's the whole point of the discussions that are going on in our country, of the protests. People are telling you, hey, there's great injustice going on in my city, in my country, and I want to have the conversation. And the other side is literally beating them down and saying no. What does that tell you about the conversation? What it tells you is very simple. They don't want to have that conversation. They don't want to address problems in the system. Why? Because the system works for them. System always works for them. Always has, always will. Well, until it doesn't. And I don't know the age demographic for this show, but I'm going to assume most of you are, 18 to 35, maybe that mid-range. Some of you may understand that. See this stuff going on. Some of you may see this going on and go like, holy shit. Like, am I the only one seeing it? No, you're not. You're not. You are not the only person seeing it. And take heart in that fact. The world is changing. That's the way the world goes. World always changes. That's one thing you can always bet your dollar on, that that society will change at some point. Maybe slow, maybe quick, but it will change. I mean, you can look at our current society and see what's going on and see that the world is changing. I mean, are you telling me 60 years ago we would have equal marriage rights? No. Are you telling me 60 years ago that we would, we might be, that we may be having a discussion of police brutality against people of color? No, of course not. Why? Because it was fucking happening. Life got really interesting the last couple of years, and the discussions are happening. And that's the good thing. It's a discussion. Not everything needs to be a debate either. Some of you need to hear that. Discussions are one thing. Berating each other because of your political beliefs is another. And I'm saying this as an anarchist. Like a true anarchist too. Not everything needs to be a them versus us situation. It's all of us. We're the human race, and you don't change minds by beating people over the head with a stick. Case in point, look at what's happening now in the streets. You change people's minds by showing them that they can get to these same conclusions. And a lot of people out there are grifters. They're selling you bullshit because they make it appealing. They appeal to your logic, or they appeal to your sensibilities, or they appeal to something deep down inside of you that's evil as shit. And I know this because I also was caught up in that grift. That's okay. You can change your mind. I know a lot of people think that, would call me a hypocrite a couple of years ago. I got called a hypocrite because I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016. And I know why. I know why. And the reason why is because I was a libertarian, and Bernie Sanders is very much not that. What changed my mind? Seeing people struggling every day. And, sorry, I'm watching something over here. And I see the world as it is now. I see the people not being able to be citizens. Not because they're illegal or that they're criminals or something like that, but because they are the wrong color, wrong race, something of that nature. Excuse me. I don't know what else I want to add to this. It's I think this is a good amount. But I want each and every one of you that listen to this to understand one thing. And that one thing is this. Changing your mind doesn't make you a lesser person. Changing your mind doesn't mean that you don't have standards or morals. It doesn't. Changing your mind is literally just as easy as going, maybe the world isn't the way I thought it was. Maybe the world is fucked up. And maybe my mentality about it needs to change. Changing your mind is literally just examining the facts and making an informed decision. Education and intellectualism is not a bad thing. Science isn't bad. I know a lot of people think that doctors are lying now about the COVID situation. They're not. They're coming up with they come up with plans and they go, oh shit, that plan didn't work. Okay, we need to change it. That's how the scientific method works. You present a hypothesis, you test it, and during that testing, you decide whether or not it's a hypothesis you can go with. And it's rough. It's you're not going to get an answer within a month. Hell, you probably won't get it within a year. We got the vaccines working now. They're not pushing them out yet. They're still in testing, so there's a very real chance that all that got fixed. That the vaccines may not work. The ones they're testing right now. It's a very real possibility. That's how science works. But don't think that just because they haven't come up with the answer yet doesn't mean they won't come up with the answer later. And ignoring their suggestions doesn't help. If you have the option, stay at home. Stay at home. Don't go out. And if you do have to go out, wear a mask. Wearing a mask isn't a sign of weakness or submission to the government. Because first off, the government didn't tell you to do this. A lot of people in the government told you not to do it. And boy, that worked well, didn't it? So, I hope this is good enough. I hope that Chris could make something good out of this. Because I'll be honest with you. People don't have your best interest at heart when they tell you that, the people that are telling you that people, I don't know how to put this. Cut all that out. People that tell you that they have your interest in heart when trying to be very individualistic don't have your interest in heart. They want to make themselves better. I don't. You can agree with me or disagree with me. My thing is I'm fighting for you as well, whether you like it or not. Can you ask that question of the other side? Can you Can you get that same answer from the other side? No. I don't think you can. Why? Because, again, I was part of that side at one point. And people are talking about the radicalization of the youth. Well, things were already radicalized. We were there from the beginning. Whether or not you saw it doesn't matter. It was there. The problem is that the other side got way more radical, way quickly, way more. The other side got way more radical, and they got way more radical very rapidly. You have to worry about that. I wish I could come up with some other things to say to make things better, but I can't. All I can tell you is that through great strife comes great innovation. Be the change you want to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi said that one, and he was an anarchist too. So, Chris, I hope you can make something good out of this. Because to be honest with you, I felt like I was rambling a little bit too much.